Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're getting Thursday's analysis out a bit earlier today, before the first race of Wednesday. So let's dive straight into it, and we'll start off with the Turner's Novice Chase, the 2.5 mile Novice Chase, Grade 1, where we have a short price favourite in Mighty Potter, and you know his form is rock solid. His only disappointment relatively recently was when he actually pulled up in the Supreme last year. Since then, over fences, comfortable win over Mars Harper, comfortable win over Gaillard de Menil, Banbridge a bit further back, and a comfortable win over Adamantly Chosen and Gaillard de Menil. The only thing I would say there is, was Gaillard de Menil that impressive yesterday? Not really. Was Adamantly Chosen, is his form strong? Not particularly. So I'm actually quite keen to take on Mighty Potter tomorrow, and the horse I'm going to take him on with is Appreciate It. Now, Appreciate It was last seen finishing third, beaten 10 lengths by El Fabiolo. Now, generally, trainers and owners know who their best ones are at this stage, particularly over fences in the Arkle. And Appreciate It went off the 11 to 8 favourite, with El Fabiolo going off 9 to 2 for the Arkle, the Irish Arkle. They believed, and I believe, that Appreciate It is still a very, very good horse. And I think the fact he tried to go with Dysart Dynamo probably cost him late on, and that's why he just got run out of it by Banbridge for second. Okay, they all got outstayed by El Fabiolo, but El Fabiolo was very impressive yesterday in the Arkle, probably suggesting that actually that Irish Arkle was a good race. And without Dysart Dynamo going forward here and really testing the stamina of Appreciate It, I think we may find that Appreciate It might go forward and could even get an easy lead. Similar to what he did last year in the Champion Hurdle, sent off 100 to 30 for the Champion Hurdle last year, coming back off, was it a year off the track? Yeah, he was coming back off a year off the track, and yet he went off 100 to 30, second favourite for a Champion Hurdle. That shows how much belief they have in Appreciate It, and how good they think he is. And I, don't have any issues with his third place last time out at Leopardstown. He went too hard with Dysart Dynamo. They both got outstayed by a horse who stays further in El Fabiolo, and a horse who's franked the form strongly, winning the Irish Arkle, the Arkle yesterday. Yeah, I'm keen to take on Mighty Potter with Appreciate It, and I think Appreciate It should be second favourite, not Banbridge. Banbridge isn't going to get close to Mighty Potter. Appreciate It certainly could in this race, because I don't think anything's going to go forward, and he might get an easy lead and turn it into a 2 mile race, which will suit him. It won't suit Mighty Potter as much, it won't suit Banbridge as much, it won't suit Stage Star as much, I don't think it will suit James de Burley. Yeah, so I'm quite keen on Appreciate It, and if he can pop him out and go to the front, I think he'll go very, very close here at a price that he's too big. So moving on to the Pertemps final. Yeah, there's two in this, and I'm still keen on those two. They are Maxim, who, if you've been watching my videos, you'll have seen some of the ratings previously. His effort when winning at Leopardstown was a really, really strong performance. The form actually worked out quite nicely. The fourth place went and won the subsequent 3 mile at Leopardstown, Percival Legalora. And that day Maxim was sent off the 7 to 4 favourite. Why did Maxim get beat? He ran into the back of, I can't even think who it was, but something was falling away, and he ran into the back of him, and then the jockey gave up, which was fine. Not a problem with that at all. Especially coming, forget that race, come to Cheltenham, and I think they're still ahead of their mark. Davy Russell takes over, and I fully expect a really big run from Maxim. The second horse that we're keen on is the Boss's Oscar. He's going to run off an effective mark of 140 with Ben taking £5 off. Now, he finished second in this race in 2021, beaten by Mrs. Milner, running off an effective mark of 144. So he's £4 lower this year, and I think after an indifferent campaign, you know, things hadn't quite been going right, he dropped back into the race that he could go well in, a Pertemps qualified, and he drifted from 10s to 40s that day, suggesting he was never in the race to win it, but they were hoping to run a place, and they did. They finished third. They needed a top 4. Now, the 4th place horse, Wakul, actually went on to win at the Rendlesham next time out, a grade 2, probably suggesting it was quite a good race. Wakul is now rated 142, so he is up £2. The Boss's Oscar ran off a mark of 142. He's down £2 to 140. He's up, sorry, £3 to 145. So there's not a lot between them, and we know that the Boss's Oscar has the Cheltenham Festival form. Obviously, he finished 5th previously in a Martin Pipe. He's also finished 2nd in a Pertemps final. Yes, he pulled up last year in the Coral Cup, but that was off a mark of 147, effective 147. He went a 40s. He was never, hadn't been in form. He'd 2 pulled up. At least he's got some form coming into it this year, and I'm quite keen on the Boss's Oscar as well. They are Maxim. You can see he's getting backed. It wouldn't surprise me if Maxim goes off favourite. I mean, he went off 7 to 4 last time out for a race. I think he'll get really well supported tomorrow. And the Boss's Oscar at 10s and 11s. I think that's a fair price for him in the Pertemps final. Moving on to the Ryanair, Shishkin wins this. Bit like Constitution Hill, bit like Gaillard de Menil really in the last. I know he was very lucky yesterday. Yeah, Shishkin should win this, take all the beating. Blue Lord's stepping up to try and run in the Ryanair. That's not... I think he's running in the Ryanair because they didn't think they could win the Champion Chase, which they probably couldn't, having been beaten by Gentleman de May. And a lot of the others have question marks as to whether they're even good enough. Janadil, yeah, he's a good horse, but he's actually £11 lower in the official ratings. And I can't see anything beating Shishkin if he turns up like he did last time, which I think Nicky's horses have been running okay. We had Mr. Coffee ran okay, Constitution Hill, John Bon, generally they've run okay. A couple of disappointments in Marie's Rock and Impotent. One's probably likely to be retired and the other probably needed further. So yeah, I think Shishkin is the one to beat here, and his price reflects that. Moving on to the Stayers Hurdle. I can't totally understand this race. I'm not a fan of Blazing Cow. I'm not a fan of Tiapu. I think Tiapu has been beating horses that he should beat. Even beating Classical Dream and Honeysuckle. I don't think Honeysuckle was anywhere near her best, and they probably saved her best this season until yesterday. Yeah, Tiapu doesn't... I just don't understand the horse enough to suggest that that's the one I want to be on. I think the most obvious one for me is Flooring Porter. I mean, twice a winner of this race. I mean, even last season came into it off the back of pulled up, fell second. So I hadn't won a race and then went and won again. Yes, the year before when he was on the unknown for the Stayers Hurdle, he had been running well and winning races. But last year it was all geared around Cheltenham, and I think this year it's been all geared around Cheltenham again. Not too worried about his defeats. I'm sure he'll be a lot better at Cheltenham. Get to the front, and yeah, try and hold on. I know Dashel Drasher might push him initially, but I think Flooring Porter, Danny Mullins will be able to ride him well enough to take the running, make the running, and run a really big race here. I think if they do go fast, which they, with Flooring Porter and potentially Dashel Drasher going forward, Paisley Park is not out of it at 14s and 16s. You can ignore his last run. They crawled, didn't suit him at all. It's not going to happen here. He's going to get that fast pace, and he ran on really strongly last year to narrowly finish behind Time Hill and in front of Champ and Classical Dream and Home by the Lee. And I think he'll do the same again, but I don't think he'll win the race. I think if there's one of my two that I like to win the race, it would be Flooring Porter again. Moving on to the plate, there's probably three in this that I like. Two that I've already mentioned in previous videos, and one I've mentioned, but I mentioned it for the Grand Annual, and he didn't get in the Grand Annual, but he does get in here. And so let's go through them. The first one is That's Alright Gino. I'm really keen on That's Alright Gino, to be honest. I'm not too worried about his £4 higher mark. I think his second behind Stage Star was a really, really good effort. Yes, he comes here off a £7 higher mark, but I think he was beaten that day by a Grade 1 horse, and he ran him all the way to the line. And the cheek piece is on as well. I think there's so many positives about That's Alright Gino. Is there a Grade 1 horse in this race? I'm not so sure. So I'm really confident of a big run from That's Alright Gino. The second horse that I do like is Fugitive. Finished second to Amarillo Sky and in front of Grey Diamond at Cheltenham in November. The winner went on to win again at Newbury before finishing fourth in a Grade 1. And the third, Grey Diamond, was going to win last time out at Sandown when falling 2 out, I think. So that form worked out well. Fugitive then went to Chepstow and won quite comfortably, before then running back into a really well handicapped horse in Il Ridoto. Yes, they've both gone up in the weights. Fugitive up from 143 and Il Ridoto up 138. They're now 143 and 138, 143 and 138. There's £2, so Fugitive is £2 better off with Il Ridoto. I think there's still more to come from Il Ridoto, but I also think there's still more to come from Fugitive. I wouldn't have a lot between him in the betting, and I don't think they do. Well, they got Il Ridoto at 7s and 8s, they got Fugitive at 10s, 12s. I think they should be nigh on the same price, personally. And the final one in this race, I haven't really talked about for this race, but I have talked about him all season, is Ferro Bamboo. Ferro Bamboo was third last year in the Grand Annual of 141. Editor-in-Chief was fourth, Amarillo Sky was fifth. It was a good race, Il Ridoto back in 8th. It was quite a good Grand Annual, to be fair. And Ferro Bamboo this year has been continued over 2 mile. 2 mile at Ascot, 2 mile at Ascot, 2 mile at Sandown, 2 mile at Sandown. And he's never really been getting involved. I thought they were planning him for the Grand Annual, and I think, to be honest, they still were trying to get him in the Grand Annual. It didn't work, he didn't get in, but he's dropped £6, he's £6 lower mark, and he can run here instead, where this race probably, on the way he runs his races, would suit more anyway. So he's very interesting at 10s and 12s, and he is going to be a bet in this race as well, over this trip off his low handicap mark. Moving on to the mares novices. I think Lucia takes all of the beating here, doesn't she? She's very, very good, and I fully expect her to run a huge race. I think she's above average mare. I think she'll end up in the mares hurdle next year, whereas quite a few of these will end up in handicaps and potentially going over fences for a mares chase. Yeah, that's all I really want to talk about there. Is I think Lucia takes all of the beating. I know there's a bit of fancy for Lotta Joy on Twitter. I think some of that is just it's a Willie Mullins horse. Yeah, I think Lucia is Nicky Henderson's. Well, obviously he's had a winner in Constitution Hill. I think Lucia would probably be his second best chance of a winner. And the final race is the Kim Muir. There's 2 in this that I like. I think the first one's quite obvious, Mr. Incredible. His second in the Classic Chase was a very, very good effort. This is still a race that he can run in because he's off 145. Patrick rides, loads of positives. They've looked after him since then, and I think they know that they've got a horse ahead of his mark. And the second horse that I want to talk about is down here. Musical Slave for Philip Hobbs and Derek O'Connor. Very interesting Musical Slave. So I've been a fan of Musical Slave for quite a while. He finished second last year in the Bet365 Gold Cup. It was probably a good Bet365 Gold Cup. The third horse, Kitty's Light, has won the Ida. The fifth horse, Captain Orr, has come out and won a Swinley Chase. Some good handicaps there. And the winner is obviously being aimed at the Gold Cup, having won a Galway Plate and also an American Grand National, Hewick. You know, that's really good form. And Musical Slave was second, running off 135 or 130. Was effectively going to go up to 137 and has dropped since then and dropped down to 132 afterwards. Now, after disappointing probably at Haydock on his return, where I don't think he really tried, he then finished 7th in a Welsh National, and that probably just found out the ground and the trip were probably a bit too far. He dropped back last time into over 3 mile into a veterans chase where he did win. Okay, he only beat Mr. Malarkey, who disappointed next time. They were well clear of the rest. And I think the jockey booking is very interesting in Derek O'Connor. He's the type of horse that maybe he's better than these, or some of these, and probably should be running in better races. You would imagine that he'll end up again in the Bet365 Gold Cup, but this is a race worth winning, so I do think they'll be trying here. So they would be my 2 for the race: the Willie Mullins trained Mr. Incredible and the Philip Hobbs trained Musical Slave. So just a quick recap, let's have a quick look at their prices. Musical Slave is 25s and Mr. Incredible is 11-2. So a quick recap, I'm hoping that Appreciate It gets an easy lead and can hold off the challenges in the Turners. Maxim, I think, is still ahead of his mark. Who's the other one? The Boss's Oscar is down to a good mark and can run well. Shishkin takes all the beating in the Ryanair. I think if Flooring Porter gets an easy lead, he won't be easy to pass again. I like 3 in the plate. That's Alright Gino. I thought he bumped into a grade 1 horse here last time. Fugitive, got really good form. The form stacks up. And Ferrero Bamboo, if this trip does bring out a bit more, he's going to go very close. The mares, it's all on Lucia. And the Kim Muir, Musical Slave and Mr. Incredible. Both horses who are probably still ahead of their marks when they get conditions to suit. Thanks for listening. Friday's ratings, remember, will be free for everybody, and I will be doing the Friday analysis on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that as well. It'll come onto this blog post here. You can see Tuesdays was posted, Wednesdays, Thursdays will be available shortly, and Fridays will also be posted on this same blog post. So just keep scrolling down if you can't see it straight away. Thanks for listening and have a great day.